That's how the show starts. That's how we do it.
Yeah, that's the intro. That's the intro from now on. We're doing the show, opening the show that way every time. Hello and welcome everyone to the GGG podcast. I'm Paul, and this is Phil.
Hello.
He's here. He's giving peace signs. He's passing them out, spreading the love. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to drop us a like or subscribe if you're a fan of the podcast and have not already done so. What have you been up to this week, Phil? Have you been playing anything else other than I know? Oh, I was going to say other than Spider-Man. I know I've asked that before because there's been so much Spider-Man, but there's got to be other things going. Are you back to Baldur's Gate? What is the vibe? What is the vibe mid-November?
I should be playing Baldur's Gate. I should go back and finish Baldur's Gate. I'm wearing this right now because I had a little workout before the show, and my other workout shirt was sweaty, and this is a workout shirt, so it like hides the sweat a little bit better. So I wanted to be presentable.
Yeah, you look great.
Thank you. I have been swinging around a little bit. But I will say my heart has been stolen this week by a game that came out, I believe, in 2020.
Oh my!
That has been delisted, and I just happened to be able to find a key to Fuser. Have you ever heard of this game?
Fuser? No, I don't think I have.
So it is made by Harmonix of Rock Band fame, and or Guitar Hero fame, as one of the two.
Yeah. Sure. They're probably competitors, and they hate that we would ever put them in the same category. But yes,
true. But their game's delisted, so F them. It is a really cool like mashup game. So you get a bunch of different songs, and when you're going through like the campaign, you're pretty much just like learning different features of your like DJ kit.
Sure.
So each of the songs that you have has like a bass, a drum, a lead guitar or lead synth, and the vocals, and you can mix and match them together. You can change the tempo, and you're pretty much just like DJing a giant party. It's really feature rich and just so much fun. Like I'm just sitting in my room like bopping out late at night.
How did this game cross your path? How did you find out about it?
I think a long time ago, a podcast that I like, one of the guys on it was talking about it, and I was like, oh, well, I'll check it out. And I immediately fell in love with it. I bought it on my PlayStation a while ago. It came out for PlayStation 4, and then I found it on PC and got like a code for the digital deluxe version just before the delisting, and I haven't really played it until now. And holy smokes, it's so cool with all of the songs in there. It's just, it's really, really good. But it's like impossible to get nowadays, so it's a really hard thing to gloat about. But
on the gamer black market over here.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it. But yeah, that's mostly what I've been playing, and then some Magic the Gathering. But what have you been playing?
So I have had computer problems. So I've my PC is a pre-built PC, which is not the route I usually go. But this one was a gift and is still under warranty, and so I have sent it back to the manufacturer to make them pay for it and make them fix it, because my GPU was overheating pretty bad whenever I ran any kind of video game at all, like even like Valheim or like a simple game like Stellaris, which like my laptop can run Stellaris, so I've really just been playing PlayStation games because that's all I can play games on, and so lots of Fall Guys. I've gotten back into Fall Guys quite a bit, and I downloaded on PlayStation Century Age of Ashes, which is a competitive dragon game. So it's like I think it's 5-on-5, or maybe it's 4-on-4 actually.
I've been really close to downloading this game. That's the one where you're flying around. It's like a
actually
on dragons.
Yeah, one of the first videos I did for the Golden Glaze Gaming channel was that game, and I really just if people haven't heard of it, I would encourage everyone to download it. It's called Century Age of Ashes. It is a competitive, you're flying around a dragon, so it's a dragon dogfight. um, and it's really fun. And one of the best things that I really like about the game is that the game lets you earn currency. So it does have like the more basic currency, but it also has currency that you can buy. You can earn it in the game. So
That's
like
cool.
theoretically, it's like if you didn't want to pay for the battle pass, you could earn the battle pass and then unlock all the battle pass stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so I really like that free to play model a lot. And when games do that, I personally, as a customer, I feel more inclined to spend money on the game, because I know it's going to go farther than me buying one skin at a time. So anyway, so I've been playing that on PlayStation 5. It runs beautifully, really fun. It's cross play, so with Xbox and PC and everything. But yeah, aside from those two games, haven't really played much. I platinumed Spider-Man 2, but ever since I platinumed it, I've kind of just been like, okay, I'm gonna wait until an update.
Yeah, New Game Plus. You're gonna have to run me through one of these matches because I do want to play. It's Ashes or
it's not the best name. It's Century Age of Ashes.
Century Age of Ashes. You're gonna have to run me through a match because dragons get me immediately.
Yeah, it's a super fun game. Super fun game.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we should totally play.
Hell yeah.
All right, well, let's dive right in. So the major game releases for this week, one I know a lot of people are very excited about, is Farming Simulator 22. I don't know why it's 22. That's what I read online. Maybe that's an error, and it should be Farming Simulator 23 to match the year.
Yeah.
But that is what IGN had listed. So if there is an error, blame IGN. That is the lesson here.
I mean, I would. Yeah, no. Farming Simulator 20. I'm looking 23. May 20. What? I'm so confused.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Okay, so Farming Simulator 23 it says initial release date May 23rd, 2023. Android, Nintendo Switch are the platforms.
So I'm looking at it. So it might be Farming Simulator 22 Premium Edition.
Could be.
Is launching. So maybe it's like a souped up version of the last game. I'm not very familiar with the Farming Simulator games. I've seen a lot of clips online, but hopefully this is exciting news to Farming Simulator fans. Yeah, to someone out there didn't know. It was like, oh my god.
Oh, what? That was the best year for Farming Simulator.
Yeah, it was a great year for Farming Simulators. So,
yeah, I have a sweater. I went to an E3 a couple years ago when I was working in the press field, and they were giving out swag, and one of my favorite things was I got a Farming Simulator. It was just blue, nice sweatshirt, and just this Farming Simulator 18. That's all.
That's great.
The best. Yeah,
that's all you need to do.
I don't think it fits me anymore. But speaking of things that I should have outgrown, the next on our list is Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl 2, which is crazy because it feels like All-Star Brawl 1 just came out. Like what?
Yeah.
2022?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to say that maybe 2021. It was probably 2022, honestly. But yeah, I think honestly the first one did so well so quickly. It got very popular, and then I know Warner Brothers released their version of the game. I'm forgetting what that was called.
Multiverses.
Multiverses.
I played a lot of Multiverses for a minute.
As did I. I was like, you got LeBron James in a fighting game? Let's go. So I played a lot of Multiverses, but I know that you cannot download Multiverses anymore. They took the game down.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because
Frustrating.
I think the whole thing with that was it was a beta the whole time,
It was.
and so when the game hasn't actually released, so they removed the beta,
Mhm.
and it's going to have an official release, and presumably the content you paid for will still be unlocked. Presumably, this is Warner Brothers we're talking about, as
Mhm.
we will talk about more in a couple of news stories.
I think I bought all of the characters. So if like I think I paid for like a chunk of coins and then was able to with Superman farm enough to unlock all the
Yeah,
characters. But
yeah.
still,
Same,
ugh.
same. So yeah, but Nickelodeon All Star Brawl 2, maybe they have the quick turnaround because Multiverses is gonna have its official release and they want to get ahead of it.
True.
But widely popular game, a lot of fan favorite characters that people have been asking for have made it into the game. I know like oh god, what's like the teenage girl android
Oh,
is in the
Teenage
game
Robot. I
now.
don't know her name, but my life is a
Yeah.
teenage robot.
Yes. So yeah, a lot of fun characters, a lot of characters I grew up with it as a kid. So I probably won't get this game. This is not a free to play. This is like a $40 game, I
No, it's
think.
40. I think at around $20, I could have a lot. I could talk my friends into playing this with me. And even just
Mhm.
like get one copy and like we switch from Smash to this for a few rounds and then back to Smash. You know.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, moving right along. Assassin's Creed Nexus VR is launching this week. Very exciting. I've seen some footage of this game, and I think Assassin's Creed, you know,
World is on
there
fire.
always will be a little bit of like stretching to fit the VR mold, but I think it's not a bad franchise to try to do VR with. With the platforming and everything like that. I'm sure the movement must feel a little wonky as it does in a lot of VR games. But like I wanna see like little daggers coming out of my wrist. That looks awesome.
Yeah, I can imagine that this would probably be one of the most um vomit-inducing games to come on VR.
Yeah, what does leaping into the hay like look like in VR?
Yeah, I think really cool concept because like Assassin's Creed 4, I think you're working for Abstergo and they're like developing video games. They sort of jump the shark in a good way, I think. And they sort
Yeah,
of like make Abstergo Ubisoft, but you're developing a VR game where you put on a helmet and you go into and experience the memories that way. Um, so this is cool to see like a real life version of that. But I do think like it's a tough sell for me to think of Assassin's Creed games which are so heavily based on movement and fluidity to like have
yeah,
the either the really like schlonky teleport or the kind of sickening like moving with a button. Like
right.
I don't know. I like VR and I don't get too dizzy with it, but it is one of those things that I think can
Yeah,
throw a person off.
absolutely. Like I think the number one problem with VR is movement. It's
Mhm.
like how do you move your character around? And like I don't know, it's not really a realistic problem to fix unless you have one of those fancy treadmills that you can like
Yeah.
run in place on. But not everybody or the majority of people or 99% of people are not going to have that.
Yeah.
So um like for me, I don't know. Like I know that the Horizon VR game did pretty well. Like it didn't sell fantastic because it was like on the PSVR 2, so it's new hardware.
Mhm.
But the reviews of it were pretty good. And that, while not exactly the same as Assassin's Creed, is kind of similar gameplay and the platforming and I guess more archery. So maybe it works a little bit better. But
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
according to the trailer, it seems like there's a bit of archery in the Assassin's Creed as well. So like I also just think like it's launching exclusively on Meta, which is a little tough because even the new Meta 3, which is more powerful, I still
Mhm.
think isn't as powerful as PlayStation VR 2 or like the Nexus or there's no
Sure,
more Oculus anymore because it's the Meta, but
it's the meta.
it's the Meta.
It's all meta, man.
It's the new
Uh,
Meta.
well, how meta is a Super Mario RPG remake?
It's so meta. We're in a simulation. That's how meta.
Did you ever play Super Mario RPG?
No, I'm gonna reveal a lot about myself right now. Probably some stuff that I'm
Okay.
ashamed. I was a
Oh,
Sega kid growing up,
blasphemy.
so I didn't have a lot of the good games, but I
Yeah,
had.
no, I did you
Oh yeah,
grow up on Genesis?
I grew up on Genesis. I grew up on Vector Man, the Genesis version of Comic Zone, which was pretty damn good.
Okay,
You know.
sure. Yeah, I grew up on Genesis too. My good friend as a little kid, she had a Nintendo 64, and so
Mm.
that was really my like into like, oh, now I played the Mario games, and now I played Banjo Kazooie, and like Smash and stuff like that. So like I never owned a 64, and then she got the GameCube after that, and I played a lot of Wii in high school. But I've never owned a Nintendo console. So
Really? Damn.
yes, I've played a lot of Nintendo, but
Mm.
I've never personally like owned a Nintendo console. I bought a Switch for my girlfriend, so I guess she has a Switch Lite that's
Oh,
not being used. So I guess I could
you could.
adopt the Switch Lite
Uh,
and play it. But yeah,
wow. Interesting.
yeah.
I think I owned an original NES and then a now
Mm.
a Switch. Um, and I do love my Switch. It's a pretty amazing little handheld, and like you got to give it to Nintendo because they just make banger after. Well, not every game is a banger, but they make a lot of bangers.
They do, right? And they know how to do what they do very well.
Mhm.
So like,
Wait, so you never had a Game Boy or a DS or anything like that?
oh, I'm sorry. That's you
Okay.
totally corrected me. I had a Game Boy Color was my
Mhm.
first Game Boy, and I had a Game Boy SP, and I think that was it. I think my little brother got the DS. I was getting a little old at that point,
Gotcha.
so
Okay. Then we were
yeah.
on similar because I had a Color and then a Game Boy Advance SP, which was
Mhm.
just a quality little full. Anywho,
Yeah,
uh,
it's like a little flip phone for kids
it was.
back in the day.
uh, so Super Mario RPG, I heard it's really really good, especially like this particular iteration because I know there have been several different games.
Hmm.
But and I guess it's I think in this game like you work with Bowser, which is I feel like coming off the back of the Mario movie and the popularity of Jack Black as Bowser,
Sure,
it's
sure,
kind of
yeah.
gonna flow. And I feel like the next movie will probably be more based on the Super Mario RPG, just because you got to bring Bowser back. You got to have more do more stuff. So, uh, yeah, I don't know. Just for anyone who has a Switch, probably an easy pickup because it's like one of Nintendo's flagship games. Even though it's a remake, which is a little like interesting.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they've updated enough, but I never played Super Mario RPG, so I don't know.
I feel like just the
Um,
Switch is pumping out remakes. Like we had the Advanced Wars, this Sunshine and Galaxy were kind of like
were they remixed though? I feel like they were just you could like buy them on the Switch, but they weren't like
oh no,
digitally improved, were they?
no, I guess just re-releases.
Oh
At
yeah,
least at
sure.
least those two, but Advanced Wars was slightly updated. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
because my girlfriend bought she got like this Super Mario pack, and I think it came with Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Sunshine, and another one I don't remember. But it was, yeah, it all ran on Switch, but it ran Super Mario Sunshine exactly like it ran on the GameCube.
Yeah,
So
at a solid 340p. That's good.
not no. All right, and then last to round out our major game releases this week, we have Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, Realms of Ruin. Uh, Also nominated in the Game Awards for game's longest name. Um, so hopefully it wins, although I don't know the letter count on it.
Mm.
So yeah, this is another Warhammer real-time strategy game. Warhammer fans, be excited. It's got a single-player campaign. It also has some multiplayer modes. I believe you can also play cooperatively, but I'm not confident about that. But a lot of developers use the Warhammer license to make games.
Mhm.
And every so often, one of them hits, but
Yeah.
it's usually like 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5.
So this
But
one is more akin to like a World of Warcraft game, or not a
yeah,
Warcraft game rather.
yeah, top-down real-time strategy.
Mhm.
Uh, you're controlling armies and factions, that kind of stuff. So I really like real-time strategies, and honestly, the only modern real-time strategy that I've really enjoyed is probably Age of Empires 4.
Mm.
And I wouldn't even say that that's a great real-time strategy. It's just one of the ones that I've recently enjoyed. A lot of Total War. If there's any Total War fans out there, I know that's a huge real-time strategy game. It's a bit too complicated for me and a bit too time consuming. So I like a little bit more arcadey. I like a little bit more StarCraft or Warcraft.
I
So that's
I definitely started with Total War, and then I tried to play like way back in the day. I played the original Shogun Total War, and
oh my god.
I remember like it's so cool that you could zoom in and like you'd see like these these 8-bit sprites basically just like running and like stabbing each other with the very. And I played the most recent Warhammer Total War, and holy crap, it's beautiful, but holy crap, is it the most convoluted, like there's just so much to that game, so
There's
complex.
a lot going on. I have a group of friends who have been trying to get me to play that game for a very long time, and I want to, but I know that in order to understand that game, I'm gonna have to set aside like 8 hours in a
Yeah.
day and just and I can't even play with them, where
Mhm.
I just have to sit there and figure it out. And then after I spend those 8 hours, sorry, hit the mic. Then I'll be able to play with them the next day, and I haven't been able to get over that hurdle.
It's
Um,
it's a steep curve for sure.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
well,
something
yeah,
with no curves is Xbox's Willy Wonka's Series X.
very good, very good. I'm, you know, I remember when the Lord graced us with the information that Timothy Chalamet would play
Shalom.
Chalamet would play
Yeah.
uh a young Wilfred Wonka. Um,
Yeah.
I
It's
kind of
just because
wondered.
he's young. He's young Johnny Depp, and
He's
they're
young Johnny
like,
Depp.
well,
We
yeah,
we had Johnny Depp do it. I wondered what's Xbox's response gonna be. Obviously, as we all immediately thought, why?
yeah. What is Xbox gonna do about this Willy Wonka release?
Uh,
So for people curious, to my knowledge, this is not a real Xbox. So don't go crazy. It's not an actual Xbox.
mm,
It's just a big like chocolate gift box, and I believe there's an edible controller
mm,
that comes with the game. So like it's really cool. It's like wow, an edible Xbox controller. That's awesome, and a Xbox filled with a bunch of candy named after gamer stuff. That's really cool. But like I struggle to know like who is this for? Who is buying this?
well, let me just. Hey, Xbox. Do you want to just make some games maybe instead of making a chocolate Xbox and an Xbox fridge? Would you rather maybe make like a game?
Just a couple just something.
Just an idea.
Yeah, just an idea. For real, like I don't know who this is for. I don't know what the point of this is. Like I grew up near Seattle, and so there's a lot of Microsoft employees there, and I think one of the things is like they always brought everybody's like Microsoft parents. They always brought home like all of this like swag, like Microsoft swag, and
Mhm.
that's what this is to me. It's like, well, this is something to bring home to the kids,
Yeah.
like, but we're not selling any of these. Like, we just made these for the employees, and we're gonna have
Yeah.
a press release, like. Like,
I love that. It's a weird flex, but right on. You know.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Uh,
they're rolling. Yeah, not much else to say about that, really. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, then on to the next story, which is also kind of a weird flex that it has to be. So Steam's getting an update to hide sex games. I definitely I thought it was just me. I thought that like Steam,
Finally, Valve cares about its community.
but they're probably not going to hide shovelware, but they are going to hide
Oh my!
sex games. Wait, I thought because like, you know, I've looked at a few, I've considered purchasing a few in some more desperate times, and I was like, "Oh, it must know," and it's showing me but no, I guess everyone's seeing these games about you know, the art of lovemaking.
Yeah,
To a waifu.
I just imagine like the Valve office, and I have a friend who works there, and so I've been able to like to see the inside of the Valve office, and I just wanted to be I just want to be like a fly on the wall for in one of those meeting rooms where it's like an employee's like bringing up, it's like, hey, my wife walked past my computer, and it's like there's no way to like turn off my sex games so they don't appear on my Steam's list. I feel like we should update that. Like, and then that being the thing that Valve's like, you know what? We didn't do a lot this year, but you know what we are gonna do? we're gonna come up with a way for you to hide your sex games so you don't have to be ashamed.
We've been we did two things. We made a new Steam Deck, and we made it so that you can hide your Steamy Deck.
I hate that joke and I love it at the same time.
Exactly. Well, that's, you know what? Cool. I feel like anything that gives you a little bit more like flexibility with like just even I have so many games that I've gotten for free from like promotions or humble bundles. I wish that there was a way that I could hide more of my games. If this leads to that, better. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's it's cool. I'm glad they're adding it as a feature, I guess. You know, if it encourages them to keep updating Steam, go for it. But like I don't like Valve, can we work on anything else?
Yeah.
Can you get anything else done in this next year, 2024? What do you got for us? Haven't heard from you in a long time. Like,
you want to do Half-Life Racers? You want to do
yeah,
anything?
like this is freaking deja vu with Xbox, you know, or just Microsoft's like, you guys wanna make some games?
I will
wanna
say they take weird swings because they made like the Valve Index, right, which is like a really cool piece of technology, and
it's the best VR setup out there by far. Like
it's
it
so
is
good.
Yeah.
And they made Half-Life Alyx, which is like they knew we were all hungry for more Half-Life, but they made
it got great reviews and
great reviews, but it's like $1,000 entry to Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
To play it properly. You could play it on a Meta, like hooked up to your computer. And then they made the Steam Deck, which is a really cool piece of technology. And, you know, but they're a software program or a company initially that started out by just making a really good first-person shooter. And like we just more of those, please. Portal, Half-Life. No more Dota.
Portal
we don't
3.
need it.
They ain't stopping Dota. That's a train that ain't stopping. That's got their full attention right now.
That's true. It does.
So, all right. Well, let's get off of that. I want to get to our main topics. Let's get through these news bits quickly. All right. So so Mortal Kombat 1, they're having a lot of blowback with the amount of microtransactions that are in the game. I've talked about it on a couple of podcasts. Particularly what's going on right now is Omni-Man has officially released, and I believe Omni-Man costs like $8 or $9 to unlock, and when you buy Omni-Man, you don't actually get all the Omni-Man stuff. You just get him as a playable character. They sell him as an announcer separately, and I think it's actually to get him as an announcer, it's like $10. So it's actually more money to get him as an announcer than it is to play him as a character in the game.
But to get him fully would then be $18.
Yeah. And then there's other things, like they were doing like a Halloween event, Thanksgiving events, where like they're very funny, you know, obviously violent and grotesque fatalities. But they're like, you kill somebody with a jack-o'-lantern, or you kill somebody with Thanksgiving dinner, and like that's great, and I think that that's great content to make. But they're charging similarly, like more money than I think it's like $10 a fatality or something like that, and it's insane.
Ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
And
that's for Omni-Man, for the full package of Omni-Man, that is like a third of the price. I guess $69.99, so just under a third of the price of the game.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
Yeah,
it's so stupid. And you go ahead, because you were talking about this before we started recording, so I wanted to get
well, these two stories tie in together. It is a Warner Brothers game. Warner Brothers is led by David Zaslav, and what I've subtitled this article is "David Zaslav is a turd." Games as service. Okay, so there's a couple reasons I dislike David Zaslav. One of which is that he said, like, I think he was the person that everyone knew during the actor strike that said, when these writers stop being able to pay rent, then we'll be in a better bargaining position. Which is like, man, what a real dink of a person to say that. He's made decisions like canceling Batgirl, which, he still released The Flash. They also recently canceled a Wile E. Coyote movie that has like...
Oh, I saw that. I
Yes.
saw that. I didn't know that was... Okay. Yeah.
It seems like they're just kind of like... They're doubling down on just getting rid of anything that's kind of risky, which is weird. But in terms of their games, they want to release more games as a service. So this is something like Multiverses kind of fits well into this plan. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League fits well into this plan, because that is a game as service with a battle pass and sort of a continual system. To quote him exactly, it said, "Our focus is transforming our biggest franchises from largely console and PC based with 3 to 4 year release schedules to include more always-on gameplay through live services, multi-platform, and free-to-play extensions, with the goal to have more players spending more time on more platforms." More time means more money. This sucks for a lot of reasons, because it's going to make like a lot of mobile games, a lot of free-to-play nonsense. But we just, like, Mortal Kombat as a unit, pretty good on its own, right?
Yeah. It's I could just tell that they are keeping it. Look, the story is good. Mm-hmm. It's a great fighting game. It's Mortal Kombat. It's not going to be bad. But you could tell after you beat the story in that game, that's like, I feel like there's content here that they're keeping from me that would have came normally in the game.
Totally.
But it's the exact same way I felt about Diablo 4, where it's like, oh, this isn't really a fully fleshed out game. This is chapter 1 of the frickin' 10 seasons that they're going to launch.
Yes.
And I hate that, because like, I'll be honest. Like, I love Invincible. I ain't paying for Omni-Man. I'm not doing that. Like,
wait till he goes on sale for any character like that. Like, wait till the whatever pass is on super sale, because what they charge for these characters is ridiculous. Additionally, the Harry Potter Hogwarts game was, I thought, pretty excellent, and it was just like a nice single player experience. You got to get wrapped up in the world. Yeah. And we'll probably never get something like that again from Warner Brothers. At least until David Zaslav is trebucheted out of Warner Brothers Studios by the Animaniacs and replaced with AI or something.
I mean, bring back DLC. Bring back DLC. Like,
let me pay for it.
I will pay for it if you actually make something to pay for, instead of making skins and these little, like, look, I did this little teeny tiny thing, pay $10. It's like, I'll pay $20 if you make something, but not. Anyway.
Well, that's let's get out of this tailspin and talk about something cool.
Yes. One of the games that you're very much looking forward to in December, Avatar. Okay. Well, a little lukewarm on Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is really taking haptic feedback to heart, and this is something that it's kind of a minor story, but I've been kind of little pissy with Sony about for like its lack of haptic support in a lot of their games.
Totally.
Just because, like, when you first, for those of you who have a PlayStation 5 or who have like played the intro game, when you get your PlayStation 5, like the haptic feedback when you first played that game was so good. And for me, it's like they really gave me great examples of how games can use haptic feedback to really enhance your experience. Like, it's like the new DualShock is the best controller I've ever used ever. Like, the battery life does go over time, sure, but that's what happens with things that use batteries. So like in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, they are going to have over 400 different haptic feedback movements and motions that you will get to experience in the game.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, and I think it's a great thing to have it in Avatar to have it in the Avatar franchise, because a lot of it is like being around nature, and it's like if I'm running through the brush, like, am I gonna feel on the controller like you ran past this branch?
Or if you're like running on wood, you'll feel a different like. Astro did that really well. We're running on metal, you could feel it. We're running on grass. Spider-Man, I gotta say, had like more haptics than most games.
But still not a lot.
It's not a lot. Like some of the web devices, like I noted the distinctive, like, oh, I used this one because I feel it. And like the flying has a little bit, but 400, I'm very excited. I'm gonna keep my. Okay, I'm back on the excited train.
Yeah, 400 is committed.
I never cared about Avatar. Like when I watched the first movie, like, I watched the second movie, I went to Magic Animal Kingdom in Orlando, Florida, and went to like the Pandora area, and I was like, this is cool. They figured it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will play Frontiers of Pandora. It's just I'm gonna wait the reviews to see if I got on sale or not.
Sure. Yeah. This is a I don't know. I bet you January rolls around, they see how the Christmas sales do, and it's down $20-$30.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, we'll see. I'm. You have piqued my curiosity, Avatar. All right, so this last news topic is going to be nice and short. It's going to lead into our main topic, which is of course the Game Awards. But before we fully get into that, they announced today that the Game Awards will be. You can experience it inside of Fortnite, as Fortnite has been doing a lot of. Live events that you can participate in, and we even got a little advertisement trailer of it where we got to see Jeff Keighley as a Fortnite character doing the Game Awards.
Very cool.
So
good.
So that is cool. I don't know that a lot of Fortnite players are gonna want to sit through 3 hours of a Game Awards show, but it's possible. It's possible that they do. So I think it's cool. I think, virtual experiences are getting bigger and bigger. I'd like to see more games other than Fortnite do it. But that's like the biggest, most pop culture game there is. So,
well, I do think that when it comes to, it's interesting because like it is a nominee for ongoing games. I know we're gonna do like some of the nominees, but I feel like it's probably the game of the year.
Yeah.
But it's funny that they're a nominee and it feels like they're putting their finger on the scale a little bit. But
sure, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like watching concerts in Fortnite, not something I've been about, but it's a cool venue to be able to do that. And I think it would be cool to like, be able to fly around the Game Awards like space with your little Fortnite avatar. But I'm not gonna watch it this way. And I play Fortnite.
It's like, no, I'll have it on TV or I'll watch the highlights afterwards.
Yeah, I'll watch it on my phone, huddled over it. Huddled over my toilet, just like, all right, cool, click.
Yeah, cool.
Back to
Baldur's
Instagram.
Gate? Okay, great. All right, well then let's just go ahead and get into the Game Awards, which is the biggest news this week. They've come out. We got all the categories listed. We have a couple of Game Awards snubs, so that people have been complaining about. I don't really have too many disagreements here. But yeah, what do you think of the main lineup?
I think it's really strong. I forgot about Resident Evil 4 remake.
I
Um,
forgot it came out this year, honestly.
yeah, and I feel like that's maybe the only one that I'm like, we maybe could have put something else, just because it is a remake of an old game. It changes
Yeah,
enough, but yeah.
yeah. So real quick, the nominees for Game of the Year,
Hmm.
according to the Game Awards, are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4 remake, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
You know,
So we got six nominees there.
3 of these games are direct sequels to to an IP that like popped off the year it came out. Alan Wake, I feel like, was kind of a sleeper hit, much like
Yeah, it
Control.
was.
Marvel Spider-Man was a big name. Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild was a big name, and I think it is crazy that Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, everyone pretty much when that was coming out was like shoo-in for Game of the Year, shoo-in, and then the rest of the year happened, and
Yeah.
not a shoo-in anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Like I don't again, like I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom. My girlfriend is a huge Zelda fan and I probably will play it eventually. But yeah, I don't feel like it's the front runner
Mm.
here. I for me it's like I feel the front runner is probably Baldur's Gate 3. Um and again, I feel a little weird about Resident Evil 4 um, remake being on there. Like it was very good. I'm not
Mm.
saying it wasn't good, but it was a remake of a game, so it kind of feels a little, I don't know. And then the one I really don't know anything about is Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which I have heard very good things. Like it just being a great just 2D platformer that's very creative, as the Mario games usually are. Have you played Super Mario Bros. Wonder on your Switch?
I played a little bit at a Target because I was like, let me see what this thing is,
Sure,
and I did fall in love with it to a degree. Like I'm not a big like 2D Mario fan. Um,
sure.
but I feel like for people who that scratches an itch, like Mario Maker or the original ones, this is probably like that towards 10, because from every like bit that I've heard about this game is that like each level has a new and distinctive thing that it does to turn the entire idea of platforming on its head.
Hmm.
Um, there's like a musical level pretty early on, and I don't know, like it's Nintendo, so they, especially with Mario, they don't tend to mess around too much. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
I
mean it's
want to
just
play
got
it.
great level design from what I hear. Yeah,
Mhm.
so
And just a lot of heart and a lot of like style. Like now when Mario goes into a little pipe, he does like he kind of scuttles in, or if he's like Elephant Mario, his feet get stuck and they like do this for a second, then he gets sucked in. Um,
hmm,
it's just a lot more detail that they can do with like modern games. Uh,
sure.
I'm trying to think Alan Wake 2 is the one that I like and the most curious about if I would like it or not.
Yeah, I mean like I could definitely see myself getting into Alan Wake. I'm not a big horror game guy. So uh I guess the weird thing for me is like there's always usually one horror or thriller video game that's nominated for Game of the Year. But this year you have Alan Wake 2 and you have Resident Evil 4.
True.
And it's kind of weird that there's two of them on there, which I mean could just mean that both of them are just very exceptional. Um but
I,
yeah, a lot of people really like it. A lot of people really like the game. So
to me, Resident Evil 4 isn't a horror game. It's like an 80s movie action game. Like
sure.
Leon is so badass that I rarely felt scared as much as I like there's a great Patton Oswalt bit about like when you get scared by something and then it turns out to be a moth and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to kill it." Is what I feel like in every it's like, "Yeah, well, I've got a
Sure.
gun. Hold on."
That's a great, yeah, that's awesome.
Um,
I love
but yeah, I think I'm pulling for Baldur's Gate, uh which is tough because I love Spider-Man so much.
it. I mean, that's where I'm not saying I would vote for Baldur's Gate,
Mm,
but I would say that's where my money is. If I
mm,
had to bet, it would be Baldur's Gate. Um, So, like, there has been some complaints about games that have not made the Game of the Year list.
Mhm.
Some snubs. Are you out of these 6 games? Is there a game or two or three that you would sub out for something else as a nominee?
Um, I don't think so. Like,
No, you like this list?
I like this list. I feel like it was a pretty crazy year. Like, I don't think I would put Starfield on the list.
I wouldn't
Uh,
either.
yeah. I don't think I would put Hogwarts Legacy on the list because it was a very competent game. But whenever I think of Game of the Year, I don't think about Diablo 4. No, great game, not a Game of the Year.
No.
And then I think people talk about Final Fantasy 16.
Hmm.
Great game, but no. I didn't finish it. There was nothing that like I feel like pulled me through that experience.
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, the only one, and I brought this up on the Spider-Man 2 spoiler cast. And for those who haven't listened to it and have completed Spider-Man 2, please go check out the Spider-Man 2 spoiler cast on YouTube. But I think I would probably take out Resident Evil 4 and I would sub in Jedi Survivor.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I think it was the best game this year. But again, like, I really like that game. It was challenging, but it was just so much better from the first game, and it was so much easier from the first game.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, and I thought that the cutscenes were really good. I
Hmm.
thought the cinematography in the cutscenes was really good. The graphics were good. I did play it on PS5, so I know that there were like technical performance issues on the Xbox and the PC. So I know that I experienced the best version of it. So maybe that has to do with my opinion. But and also that I'm a Star Wars fan, and I haven't, jived with a lot of recent Star Wars media, but I really jived with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I would slap that one on the list just because I really, really enjoyed that game. I really liked the combat. I thought it was a great story as well. So
I'm digging through, and I don't even see it on Action Game, which is pretty crazy.
yeah,
Although,
I think it got snubbed in general. I think it was action adventure is
mhm.
it made it that category.
Okay,
Um,
and I feel like that's fitting because it is a little bit more narrative, and like there's some platforming, which kind of makes me feel like a more Uncharted. I just
yeah,
love it
definitely.
that that game is Star Wars meets Uncharted meets Dark Souls. Like, I'm excited for whatever they do next. Um, I mean, there's a couple things on here that I'm pretty glad got a nod in general. Like in terms of action game, you have Remnant 2 and Armored
Oh
Core
yeah, yeah.
and Hi-Fi Rush, which was I forgot technically this year. I feel like that would have been a sleeper like game of the year if I was to sub out Resident Evil 4 just on the technicality that it is a remake. I might have slid in Hi-Fi Rush just because it was so unique and different and interesting and well put together.
Sure.
Strange that Street Fighter 6 didn't get a nod for Game of the Year just because I know within its community it did really well. I'm sure it'll probably win the fighting game thing, even though.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely win the fighting game. I mean, its only other competition is Mortal Kombat, and while, as we said, Mortal Kombat's good, it
Mhm.
has its problems.
It just feels incomplete,
So
right?
yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, most of the snubs that people have been complaining about have been Starfield and Diablo, the two that we've already mentioned. I've gone on about Starfield at length. It's just not the game isn't done,
Yeah.
and it's not, and they're not updating it, and they're not doing it, and they're not responding to criticism, other than blaming the community, which is not a way to respond to criticism.
You should have just
So.
liked the game more. You ever think about that?
Yeah. Did you ever try to like the game? So, so yeah, I think like if Starfield is nominated for some other minor categories, it's probably nominated for like RPG,
Mhm.
but ain't no way it's gonna beat Baldur's Gate 3 for RPG. That's not gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
it's not
happy
gonna
about
happen.
that because Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate 3 like it represents for me like I want it to win Game of the Year most likely because it which it most likely will in my opinion, but also because it represents like Larian as a studio putting a game in alpha for 3 years and like releasing it and giving you constant updates, letting you know what they were doing, um, and delaying the game till it was ready, and then releasing like a pretty much fully functional thing with a couple of bugs here and there. But for the breadth and width of that game, there is nothing that that has been released in a AAA like field that I feel like is comparable to it.
Yeah, I mean the amount of avenues you can go down, you know, choice trees that you can go down in that game, like that is what an RPG is supposed to be. And
Yeah.
so help me God if that doesn't win RPG of the year. Like
I There is one thing that I'm like questioning here. Uh,
okay.
they have a subheading or a award category called ongoing game.
Hmm.
In their list of ongoing games, you have things that you would expect, like Fortnite, Final Fantasy 14,
Yep.
Genshin Impact, and then
Okay.
Cyberpunk 2077.
No,
No,
that's
right?
not that's not the same thing. That's
No,
not the same thing.
it is.
That's like just what happened to the best DLC?
Yeah,
Like bring back DLC, god darn it. Ugh. Just bring it back.
100%.
Yeah, because it's not a live service. Like that's what Fortnite is. Fortnite is a live service.
Mhm.
COD's a live service.
If Cyberpunk 2077 is an ongoing game, then literally every game that you can still play, so not Fuser, but every game could be considered an ongoing game.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, Titanfall 2 just got an update. Is that an ongoing game?
technically.
Are we I mean, yeah, I guess maybe that fits it a little bit better. uh, but yeah, that's a weird thing. I mean, everybody, you know, for those people who haven't watched the Game Awards too much, you have to, you know, factor in like everything with a grain of salt. There's a good amount of cheese around this whole show and the whole presentation. And I do feel like there are nominees who kind of eke their way in through other means than, you know, being good games. And so like I don't think any of the winners, I don't, you know, think that happens, hopefully.
Mm.
Um, but you know, there's a lot of opinions flying around, and ultimately, I think it's the big popularity contest, and you know, sometimes like a lot of people's tastes differ, and like for me, like I really like Jedi Survivor, but yeah, I don't think a lot of people were complaining about it that it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year.
Mm.
Um, so it's just, you know, it's a lot of it is taste.
I have a weird uh, uh, bone to pick with this show. I'm happy that it's going on. I'm happy that Jeff Keighley is like he's kind of saving E3 by making it like what is it, Summer of Games or Week of
Uh, yeah. I
yeah.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Um, but the show has a nomin or a award category called anticipated game, which just
Oh,
feels
most
like
anticipated.
it feels like market research.
It's completely market research.
Yeah. Jeff, come on, man, come on.
Yeah,
Why?
they've always had that award though. That's always been there.
It
Like
is.
that's
I don't know if that just speaks something about like gaming as a hobby that like the anticipation because you don't have it for films. It's like everybody really wants to see John Leguizamo in The Pest next year, so we're gonna give it an award. Uh, yeah, I think that is probably it's something that kind of snuck in there, but probably mostly as an award for the fandom slash market research. You know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. One thing I want to mention before we go. So there's been a lot of motion in the ocean with Rockstar recently. Rockstar, the makers of Grand Theft Auto,
That's
Take
right.
Two Interactive, and they have officially announced that
Mhm.
they will be announcing the next Grand Theft Auto game in December. And to me, it would make a lot of sense to do it at the Game Awards because
Yep.
usually at the Game Awards, there are a lot of announcements, especially because, as you were just talking about, E3 isn't really a thing anymore.
Mhm.
And so we have a lot less video game press events big nights. And I remember watching the Game Awards last year with a friend of mine, and the amount of announcements was off the charts. I think that's where Armored Core got announced, and then it was going to be coming out the next year. Like Warhammer Space Marine 2 was announced there. Lots of good games were announced, and so it makes sense, I think, that it could be there. But I also know Rockstar is cocky enough to just be like, we're just going to drop the trailer online whenever we feel like it, So, what do you think? Are we going to see it there or not?
I've heard a couple of things. So I think if they released it before then, they would just sweep anticipated game, which is I feel like unfair for them.
Sure.
But you know what? They did the first hints of Kojima's next big project, which was the Norman Reedus UPS game.
Death Stranding 2.
Death Stranding. Yeah. Well, the original Death Stranding, I remember, okay, humble brag, I was working the red carpet at the Game Awards. I believe it was 2017. And I got to talk to Kojima-san, like, for a second. I got to talk to his translator.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I was like, hey, what can you tell us about your next project? And he basically said it's going to be weird. That was it. But I think that's when they showed the first bit of Death Stranding or something at a Game Awards show. So for highly anticipated games like that, makes sense. I also remember hearing that they would be possibly doing a release trailer in December. That was probably just the initial leaks, because I do think, like you said, Take-Two and Rockstar are cocky enough to be like, hey, here's the trailer. It drops January 8th. Eat it.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they've always been. So, I feel like a broken record because I've been waiting for Grand Theft Auto 6 to be announced indefinitely since Grand Theft Auto 5 came out. So who knows? But I think if it, I know a lot of people are kind of jaded when it comes to Grand Theft Auto now, but it is still one of the biggest games out there online right now. And if 6 is announced and it comes out, it's probably going to be the biggest game of all time.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And just from like a, not necessarily saying it's going to be the greatest game of all time or anything like that, but just like we hear about when all these movies come out, so you broke the box office again, and they keep always saying that like a humble, like a brag, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's because movie tickets cost more money than they've ever cost.
Yeah.
And there's more people than there's ever been. So
that's true.
How does this actually compare if you proportion everything correctly? So
yeah, I think it will blow the doors off of whenever it's released. It's just such an interesting like medium that we've been waiting for this game. You remember like every award show for the past couple months, I think like someone's run up and been like, where's GTA 6? Some random douche has run on stage and ruined the show.
I think that did happen last year. I think I remember that.
Yeah.
As if Jeff Keighley is responsible for that. Like, it's his fault that you don't know about Grand Theft Auto.
All right, you figured it out, everyone. You just had to ask, and he rips down a curtain, and the trailer starts playing.
Yep. I was just waiting for someone to interrupt me, and you finally did it.
But yeah, I think that is on point, that it will be at the Game Awards, and it might be like one more thing,
Oh, yes. Before we go, here's a logo.
And then the entire audience like starts a riot. Like the world goes into chaos. The game never gets released.
This time we paid for Lindsay Lohan's likeness.
But but now she's older, so we're not gonna use her. We did pay for her likeness.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate.
Yeah,
I bet they reference one of my favorite things about Grand Theft Auto and the campaign, especially, is listening to all the radio stations and all like the ridiculous fake news, and extremist, ridiculous politics and stuff like that. So
The wild thing is, I bet that it's not going to be that strange for us now, you know?
yeah, I guess it's kind of normalized. Everything's normalized now. So
How do you jump the shark that is reality? But yeah, very excited. Very excited to see what they do.
absolutely. All right. Well, I think we should wrap it up there. We are hitting time. But thank you, everyone, for joining us on the GGG podcast. Hopefully, we might get like a special Game Awards show going. Phil and I are going to talk about it, figure it out. But yeah, that would be very fun. And I know definitely before the year is out, we're probably going to do our own Game Awards and our own Game of the Year with our own very biased opinions. So so stay tuned for that.
I cut to a fast forward in the future. I haven't played Mario Wonder, but I do think it deserves Game of the Year. And I will not be moved.
Exactly.